afternoon, dear viewers. We welcome you to this week's community show. In this show, we are going to talk about issues that affect the young children, issues that pertain the young children, and they also, in a way, pertain the guardians, parents, and society and communities at large. And that is children and technology usage. In this fourth industrial revolution, it's not a secret that there is access to technology, there is access to telecommunication, there is access to the internet. And with that has come a number of issues to children, a number of good things, of course, knowledge sharing, instant communication. There is interconnectivity between people, name it. There's much technology. There is a lot of information that is out there that is of good use. But with that has also come serious challenges, among them harassment online, addictions online, and name them. These have in a way affected how the young people perceive things, how young people react to things, and how young people do things. So today we want to ponder on that same issue of technology usage to children. Should we regulate? Should there be limitations when it comes to usage of technology, gadgets with children? Or there should be unfettered access, among other questions of today. Joining me in this conversation is Allan and Hope, whom I will ask to introduce themselves, and we shall consequently begin. Allan.
Thank you much, Mr. Moderator, and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Allan, and I'm an Ayesigye teacher. So I'm glad to be here to be discussing this very important topic, because like the moderator just put it, it's a reality, and it's worth discussing, and we see how to help actually. Again, good afternoon, and thank you so much, moderator, for hosting me. And
Hope I'll ask you to introduce yourself.
Greetings to you all. I'm happy to be part of this conversation. My name is Hope Nankunda, and I lead a team at Raising Teenagers Uganda. And as an organization, we work a lot with young people, both in school and out of school, but also connect with many families, especially as we offer our services in raising the teenagers in Uganda. I am happy to be part of this conversation, and I hope there's a lot to learn, to relearn and unlearn. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. And I'll begin with you, Hope. How important is a gadget? How important is technology in children development? But how important is it to the children themselves? How important are these gadgets and technology generally to the children? Do you think, anyway, that technology and gadgets are important to the modern day child?
Thank you so much for that question. In my own view, I think technology is important for everyone. We have seen how much we can learn by using different types of technologies and platforms, being part of different platforms. There's a lot of information that is good. There's a lot of available opportunities that are good for the children, for the young people, and even for the older people. There's a lot of connectivity, making friends, getting to know people in different places. And of course, all this is good if it is used in the right way. We must be conversant that when we have access to different items or information and we use it in the wrong way, then there are always consequences. So if technology was being used right by those who have access to it, it would be a good thing. A lot of learning, a lot of connection, a lot of sharing ideas, learning from each other, and also access to opportunities in different parts of the world. So that's what I would say as the good about technology. Definitely, there is the bad.
Okay, thank you very much for that. And Allan, do you think this technology is important for the day-to-day modern child?
Oh, yes, well, thank you so much again, moderator. Yeah, sure, technology is very, very important for the modern child today, just like my colleague has put it. And it is important, mostly in education. Like, for example, if we can use this last incident of COVID, where schools were shut, it was technology at use that teachers could access their learners and maybe submit some work and learning materials. So it is very important to the child, literally at all levels. When you go to university and some other advanced schools, you will find that it is mostly technology used for learning, research, all those things, and some lecturers prefer teaching online. So it is really, really important. And on the other hand as well, it is important for entertainment on the other side. When students maybe want to relax, there are always games, there are always apps, there are always even apps that can add skills to learners. So technology is very important, and important indeed. It is needed for networking. It is needed to explore some opportunities. So it is very important. But like again, it is important, but it really needs some guidance. If needed or if used in the proper way, it is very important, it's very beneficial. However, if it's used in the wrong way, it can be harmful. But it is important indeed, mostly for learning and networking.
Thank you for that, and for highlighting the importance of technology and giving us the context in which it has been used and how much benefit it has brought to the young people and also their teachers, name it. I want to introduce other two panelists that have joined us as we were progressing. That is Goodluck and Marion. Please, Marion, introduce yourself, and Goodluck, introduce yourself.
Hello, good afternoon. Apologies, I came on late. I had a bit of a hiccup with my internet connection. So I'm a communication consultant, and I'm very passionate about empowering women, children, and youth. And I'm also doing a bit of policy, and I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Happy New Year, 2023. I'm happy to be part of this panel. I'm a beneficiary of technology. For over the years, even when COVID came, it found me doing all this. I earned through this, and therefore, the component of discussing children is one of the best I can. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, Thank you very much. Goodluck. I want to come to you, Marion. What are some of those things that you believe technology has helped us with in this modern day and age, and you think it's inevitable for the young people to use technology? In any case, do you think it's inevitable for a young person to use gadgets, to use this technology, this modern technology, the computers, the telephone, name it? Is it inevitable? Is it such an essential that we cannot do without? And if so, what are some of those areas that are crucial where this information technology and all these other modes of technology can be utilized?
Thank you, Alex. I think in the world that we are living today, technology has become inevitable in our lives. I find that technology is part and parcel of everything that we do, from when we wake up, from when we go to work, and everything else that we do, from education, from just, you name it, everything. So I feel like we can't ignore anymore the part that technology plays in our life, because ignoring it and assuming it doesn't impact us doesn't do us any good anymore. So I feel like as parents, as guardians, as people, we need to embrace technology and realize that it's something we can't ignore anymore. It's something we can't do without anymore, because it's ingrained in everything that we do. So it's also important that kids start getting used to technology right from an early age. But the most important thing is that parents have control over how much they are exposed to it. I've seen so many times when kids are exposed to technology, it helps them to have better cognitive skills in terms of how to process information. It helps them with their language. It helps them with their memory. So technology is doing so much good. But the harm comes in when parents leave their children to technology to raise them. So parents need to play an active role in shaping the way children use technology, because we have seen where kids have come up with games. They start building their own games and they're earning money out of such things. We've seen kids who maybe come up with ways of doing certain things, developing apps from a young age. I was reading a story of a Nigerian girl who entered a competition whereby they were supposed to code and come up with apps. And right now she's one of the rising stars in Nigeria. So I feel like it's important that parents are involved in shaping the way the children use the technology, because there's so many good things that can come out of this, and it doesn't help us to want to keep our kids away from technology. Parents need to set timelines and know what are my kids exposed to, what time are they using the gadgets that they have, so that it's in a more organized way, and parents have control over what the kids are exposed to. We also know that technology, as the kids play with the gadgets, as they play with the games, it helps them learn how to, sometimes their motor skills in terms of their fingers, their wrists, their tongue, their toes. So as they're playing with the tablets and the games, their fingers and hands get to work out. And this is a healthy exercise for mostly young people, especially when they use the modern keyboards and keypads and handheld devices. So there's no risk of injury as compared to some of the games that would be maybe the outside games that we used to play in our time, because we didn't have access to technology. So I feel like, yes, technology has more good than harm if rightly used, and if parents are actually present in the lives of their children, and it's not something we can ignore anymore. That's what I would say. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Goodluck. As you introduced yourself, do you think it's important that technology is continuously embraced for purposes of
thank you very much. Thank you very much. To discuss this, I wanted to discuss it maybe on 3 aspects. The internet is being Ministry of Health in Uganda about that in the last 2 years. Then also I wanted to talk about the internet as an alternative to land. Then thirdly, the other pie, the workload, yes, given out to parents. Of course, the parent now has to look for fees, has to look for rent, has to look for food, has to look for what, has to take care of the child, you know. But now we are adding also another role, like Marion has said, the role of I don't know whether to call it policing, but the point is that the parent really has now a lot on their table. So I don't know how they are going to handle. Now, the first one is that in the last 2 years, close to 1,000 people have been treated for internet disorders. Last night I was, I'm a health writer also. I was looking through these reports and I got worried. Actually, I talked to one of the members of parliament when I said, have you heard about something called internet disorders? She said, no, I have not. And I think maybe the ministry in the coming months or whatever, they will do their part in terms of explaining what this means. But you can imagine that we have had, I don't have the categorization of the years, but we have had almost 1,000 people admitted in hospitals because of the internet disorders. That's what I see there. That's how it has been classified. And it has been put under the mental disorders and all those other things that come with that. So as parents and those who are listening to us, you should make sure that you are careful, because if we see people going to hospitals because of some of the different disorders, you know you are going to add on the internet. Secondly, on the positive, is that I was much more exposed to the internet so many years ago as it was coming up. I had an opportunity to stay out. Now, when I came back, I really resolved within me that I will not do hard work. I love farming. I appreciate those who do farming, those who do the hard work of the hands. But for I can say almost 30 years, I have not used my hands to do the hard work. One of the things when I covered the Land Probe Commission, and I saw how, you know, people, we are going too far with land. Even today, there is a debate how much expensive it is, more than California and all these other places. I decided within me that I will make my land to be virtual. I will work through that space. If I get the money, I'll come and buy the food. Maybe I'll rent if I need where to put a 4x6 bed. I'll come and rent that. Then so for me, I agree with everyone who is saying the internet is a blessing to us, because with 8 billion people, with all these things the politicians talk about when they are looking for votes, employment, poverty, blah, 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 all those ones can be sorted when a number of our young people are given an opportunity to start looking at how to earn money through the virtual, using technology through the virtual world. We really have our country. There are things I don't worry about, and I have made sure that now my children take that line. That now they are able to know to work on a few things, and they are able to earn their pocket money at that age. For me, at my family level, that's what I'm doing. So every other time we think of areas, for example, during CHOGM, the local leaders in Kigezi, in most particularly Kabale, where I come from, I remember they were introducing a technology that was coming from India, but their discussion was all around that with limited land in Kigezi and all the things, the pressures that were coming up, why don't we make Kigezi a Silicon Valley of Uganda? Unfortunately, like all other projects that you hear about, of course, those leaders were booted out. The new leaders are pushing maybe something else. I don't even know what they are pushing to develop our community. So for me, from that aspect is that there are areas in this country, even here in the central region, the pressure of our young people. Yesterday, I was able to visit one of the creative places called Swang's Avenue. I was looking through the glasses and I was seeing so many young people on computers trying to develop ideas. And when I walked out, I was like, wow, I wish I had some good investment and I do such for my kids and maybe other people's kids. So for me, for now, I can let it, I can stop here, but I look at the internet as something that can be an alternative. So my children, I wouldn't really want to put them on pressure to tell them that you're going to buy land in Kampala. I wouldn't. Sadly, as a parent, when I wake up every other time, you find the kids glued on the phones, on TV. We have had instances when a kid took a remote almost at school. So we are looking for this remote, but the kid felt that they needed to keep this remote safely in their bag to school. Yes, the effect on the eyes is too much because if you have seen children after using the phones and they are scratching the eyes, I've had that effect also. So it's I think we are also going to see more children now going to the eye clinics or getting glasses. So these are some of, so I really pity, I pray for the parent, the Ugandan parent, the African parent, but this is something that is being added on us. And even lastly, if you see what is trending on the violence that came against a young lady, I've read through, I have failed to understand, I have feared a lot that if a child, somebody who is less than 18 can do that, minus, of course, the violence, the law has taken its course, but also when you look through what is being shared, there's a lot to fear. But for me, if we can handle the fear, the challenge, then we also look at the benefits. Thanks very much for now.
Thank you. Good luck for that. I want to come to you, Hope. Daily Monitor has Daily Monitor of 2021, September 8th, has reported on the issue of internet addiction. And I mean, all of you have stated that yes, whereas technology is good, excessive use of it is counterproductive and has its serious negative effects. And that is the issue at hand today in our discussion, internet addiction. And Daily Monitor has in quoting the American National Center for Biotechnology Information, says that internet addiction is characterized by excessive or poorly controlled occupations, urges, or behaviors regarding computer use and internet access that leads to impairment and distress. There's also been actually a study made by a PhD student called Jude Lubega in conjunction with other students from different universities in their paper titled Internet Addiction in Africa, a study of Namibia and Uganda college students. He defined internet addiction to mean that internet addiction is an obsessive pattern of IT seeking and IT use behaviors that takes place at the expense of other important activities. Now, I'll go to you, Hope. One, do you think, in your own view, there is a pattern of internet addiction among young people today? Are there some you have interfaced? And what are some of those manifestations of addiction?
Thank you so much. My answer is a yes. There's a lot of internet addiction amongst young people, and definitely addiction has its own challenges. And what stands out most is that while they are addicted and won't put their hands off the gadgets and everything, some of the parents are not present to watch this. And as a result, I think the last speaker just talked about the current violence in social media. And I'm seeing so many young people putting on their statuses the different videos of people fighting, different forms, different way of beating. And this is all going to affect our young generation, because sometimes when you grow up seeing that violence is the way to go, sometimes you think it's acceptable, and many times you start to actually practice it. So if someone can just from nowhere start beating another person somewhere, they will think it's okay. And of course, not forgetting the fact that the addiction itself limits them from getting involved in the other kind of work. I would love to share how I personally deal with this, because I have teenagers in the house. I am a mother of 3 girls, 2 are already teenagers. The last one is 13, is 12. So, and I have a number of girls that I live with as nieces and and some university students. But watching the kind of love that they have for their phones and laptops and everything, without regulation, we would all go wrong. And therefore, for me, what we do here with my husband is to ensure that there is time for everything. So the time comes when everyone must put all the phones together and hand them over to me or to the dad. And that is throughout from the evening time, because normally we would find that at night, times you'd find people at 2 chatting, watching movies. And I'm like, you people, when does your brain rest? And this is happening with many other different families. And some parents have not even taken concern to address it. But as we grow, as children grow, it's important to know that also their brain needs to rest. They need to sleep. It is part of a requirement of a human being. So for me in-house at night, from 9 in the evening up to 10 the next day, no one touches any gadgets. And these are young people who have work to do. You have this to accomplish. Until you've done this, don't even think about this. So sometimes setting rules in homes, in families, and this also challenges us to not only talk about internet use for young people, but if we want regulation to be done, how are we involving the older persons? Those are the parents, the caregivers. They're the ones who are spending the money to buy the tablets, the phones, the computers. How are we going to engage them to ensure that they don't only stop at buying, but they also monitor and regulate the usage? The addiction on internet also gets worse when we have issues to do with, for example, pornography. As I am an adolescent counselor, and I've had so many young people in schools that I work with who have been addicted to pornography. And the child will tell you, if I'm in class and I can't run out to watch a little bit, I can't concentrate in class. So imagine having to walk a journey with a child who is, for example, 13 years old or 11, and they are already addicted to pornography. And what do? At school, because they don't take gadgets, they run to the computer labs and put their porn, but watch from the corner down where not everyone can see. So if you are a parent and you're raising a child and you don't know what is happening in their lives or what they are addicted to, then it's a challenge. And therefore, us or you people that have these spaces that can get people to share and learn and relearn, I think it's also important that we get conversations with parents, specific parents, you know, not looking at so and so because she works here, therefore she should share, but people who are raising children. How do we get them to be involved and ensuring that they regulate what they are doing, what the children are doing with the phones they are given?
For that, Allan, you haven't spoken in a while. What you deal with also children, people who come to you with their different challenges, and you have most probably interfaced with internet addicts. What are some of the manifestations of a person who is addicted to gadgets and all with the, also internet? Please also, as you're doing that, you introduce yourself. We did not hear you properly, dear Allan. Over to you.
Well, thank you again, Mr. Moderator. Yes, my name again is Allan Ayesigye, and I'm an ICT teacher as well as a technician. And on the other hand, I lead a group of so many youth in a ministry called Dominion Ministries. That said, I get back to what you really pointed out, the signs that this person is addicted to internet and the use of gadgets. And there are so many, quite so many signs, but I will highlight some of them. One is that you find a child can't control their screen use. Like someone finds trouble, this person or these young people we are talking about, they find trouble to stop using their devices. And actually, even when you try to come in and tell them, please put off your gadgets, it's time for this, some of them tend to even run mad and speak back. So it's one of the signs that someone has gone to the level of addiction. They really find they can't miss being with their gadgets and stop their screens. And that's one of the signs that you know that this person is addicted. Then the other second sign is loss of interest in the other activities. Someone who is addicted to either phone use or internet, they tend to always lose the interest with the other activities or in the other activities, like maybe reading books or playing with toys or any other sport, physical sport. They feel like being on the internet and their gadgets is far much better compared to the other physical activities. And those are some of the signs, like, for example, the speaker that has just was speaking talked about the lab use. And I'm a witness to that. Being an ICT teacher, we've always had cases where you find it is even class running and then someone is just hiding somewhere in the corner, changes the monitor to the corner where something, they're not going to be seen, and seriously watching pornography or even chatting on Facebook when a lesson is running in the lab. So that is one of the signs that show that this person has gone past the level of just using a gadget or internet and is now addicted. So they lose interest. They tend to really lose interest in the other activities. And if you are a parent, you find someone all the time is on phone. They don't want to go for sporting. They have their bikes, but they no longer ride their bikes. All they want is to stay on their phone and even overstay on their phone. So, and maybe the other sign that I could highlight is that it preoccupies, you realize someone is preoccupied with the thoughts of these gadgets. So maybe the things they always watch or practice on the internet, and you find they are talking about internet-related stuff every time. They're talking about what they watch. They're talking about everything on the internet. So the whole story through is the internet, the gadgets they are using. So that preoccupies them, and you find they lose concentration. They no longer lose concentration in class. They no longer concentrate in class. You tell them, please do this, and then you come back, something is not done. And it is the discussion when they meet their friends, it is the discussion. So it's one of the signs that this person is addicted to the internet and their gadgets. That's what basically is running on their mouth, or on their lips. So that is one of the signs. And then the other sign is that when it interfaces, or there is a way it tends to bring down their socialization capability. Like someone loses interest in socializing, go out there, discuss stuff with their peers. All they want is to be on their phone. And this person, instead of socializing and maybe learning some other things from their friend, they are always on their phone. And that is one of the signs that it has now become an addiction. And then also you realize this person moves with his or her phone at any time of the day. You're eating, you go to the dining table, and this person comes along with their phone. They don't want to leave. They still want to be chatting. That means if someone cannot put off their phone for maybe a dinner or lunch, then it has gone to the level of addiction. And then also, you realize this person who is being addicted always wants to sneak in. Someone who used maybe to go to his phone after class or after work. Now this person will always want to maybe watch, if at all he had gone maybe with a gadget to school, or along the way he's watching, chatting. So those are some of the signs of addiction. And we really need to, I think, minus parents, but also people in the education sector, because there are some schools that allow the use of internet and gadgets, but still on the other hand, like we are telling parents, excuse me, like we are telling parents to control, guide the use of these gadgets and the internet. I think the schools also need to do much more monitoring, and also some little bit of highlights, the bads of and the goods of using internet, the do's and don'ts if you're using these gadgets, because you realize our children spend more time at school than the time they spend at home. So I think schools also need to really come up and give the guidance, and also say that they work the journey with these students. Me being a teacher, there is when you don't really even need to penalize someone. You just need to advise first, and then maybe do a follow-up if these students are using the internet or taking your device, using the internet rightly. And then sometimes you find someone is slowly pulling out of the addiction and begins to now want to use the devices or the gadgets and the internet for better purposes. So much as, yes, as parents, we really need to put in more efforts and guide. Also, I really advise that schools should also put in more efforts, because some of these students even sneak in with their gadgets. And like someone had pointed out, you find someone was from revision, this student has been revising after prep, instead of resting for the next day. These guys are on their gadgets, literally till maybe 3 in the morning. So I think there must be so many measures put in schools to control this. And those are some, there are so many signs of addiction, but for now I can highlight those. Thank you.
Thank you. And Marion, from your experience, you could highlight some of those manifestations that perhaps Allan hasn't pointed out to, that those manifestations of internet addiction, and what are some of their effects, in the end.
All right, thank you, Alex. I think technology is good in all instances, but without control, without a bit of teaching people how to use it, it can also be bad. So I think one of the things I see happening today is childhood depression, where we see so many children are getting depressed because of the kind of content they are consuming on some of these online sites. So, which can also lead to mental issues, just like Allan has mentioned. We have children who are having a lot of mental health issues in their adolescence because of the exposure they had when they were growing up. Sometimes when I go, when the groups I'm in and someone shares a TikTok video that to everyone else is funny, but realize the kind of, it's dark content, and yet it's humor to most people. And we have kids also watching this kind of content whereby it changes how they view the world. It changes how they look at things. And they start to feel like it's normal for things to be that way. So with time, they realize what they watch and what's happening in reality are two different things, and they can't sort of come to terms with the two different realities. Of course, anxiety, we have so many kids with so much anxiety, they can't be with other people. They prefer to be on their own. This is because most of their lives they've been glued to their phones, they've been glued to their gadgets. So they don't know how to act around people. They don't know how to express their emotions. They don't know how to manage their emotions because they haven't had a chance to actually live and go through life as it is, because they're shielded from the realities of life, because most of the time they are on their gadgets. Okay. Most of the time, these kids are very nervous when they come to public places, or if it has to do with interacting with other people. These kids are always very shy. They have a lot of fear in them. There's normal fear, but then there's fear induced because people just don't know how to act with other people in social settings, because most of their life, they have spent it behind their gadgets. So, these kids usually get upset so easily if they don't get their way, because they're so detached from reality of how life should be. So anxiety is one of the manifestations of these things. Also, we have learning problems. Most of the kids are so glued to their gadgets, usually having learning problems. I believe kids that get a chance to live normal lives and play with other kids and do life with other people learn much more faster than kids that are always glued to their gadgets, because these kids are so glued to the fiction or to the life on the gadgets that they don't know how to connect with other people around them. So usually, and we know we as social beings, we learn by watching other people. So it may take away the bit of them learning properly. It may take them a while before they catch up with how life is supposed to be, or to learn things that they're supposed to be learning at that age. Okay. Actually, research from the University of Washington reveals that gadgets are not necessary in child development. So sometimes there should be a limit on how much exposure these kids have to gadgets. The other thing, it can also have impact on character. Most times these kids are going to pick up behaviors that they think are normal in the world of technology, but yet it's not normal in the real world, because maybe they're watching adult content, maybe they're watching, sometimes it's hard for kids to differentiate between reality and fiction, or things that are just done for the sake of going viral, from things that are actually real or how things should be. So it can negatively impact on the character of kids, whereby they forget their moral values, and yet this is the future of our country. The kids are the future of our country, and they start to consume content that's beyond their mental capacity. So it's important that as parents, we set an example for the kids by one, there's so many apps, there's so many ways of limiting what your kids can access when they have their gadgets. You need to make sure you also limit how much time the kids spend on their gadgets, and also alter their routines in a way that make them engage in more activities that involve playing with other kids or doing life, like being what should I say? Being awake to what's happening, living in the reality. So that's very important. And also encourage more outdoor activities and start doing a lot of activity-based learning. So even if they are spending time online, what are they doing? That's the most important part. It's okay to spend time online, but what are the kids doing? I think when we get to the bottom of that, then technology will work for us and not against us. Yeah.
Yes, thank you for that, and giving us a broader understanding of these manifestations and how, again, they affect how the children are affected in the long run. Again, in the paper that I quoted by Jude, Rebecca, and others, they have reported that there are about 3 factors that collectively define internet addiction. There is psychological, emotional conflict, time management, and mood modification. So many of these also tell us the extent of damage that internet addiction can be. And the emotional conflict is defined to refer to one's preference to being online over other social activities, like many of you have said, such as spending time with friends and family. And this has been, even in the report, in their study on Uganda, students in Uganda and Namibia, it was quite common that many young people preferred being online than socializing. Then there was the time management factor, which shows that individuals with internet addiction chose to spend time online at the cost of neglect and other responsibilities. And this decreased productivity. Like Marion said, indeed, there are many, actually at times being online, whereas we think it's productive, many times it's unproductive in various aspects, because keep on browsing and browsing, and people keep on going to other things that are not necessarily important. And the one about the mood modification is, it suggests that individuals with internet addiction tend to develop other emotional problems, such as depression, moodiness, and anxiety in the absence of the internet. Yes, and also very importantly is what Marion, you said, that it takes internet many times, this addiction takes away from reality, which so they live in their own kind of bubble or utopia, quite detached from the reality on ground. And when they compare that with what is around them, it possibly can depress young people. But then a quintessential question that I think we need also to ask: how much is enough, or what is the threshold beyond which a person goes and it becomes addiction? Is it 1 hour a day? Is it 5 hours? How could you determine internet addiction? We've talked about the manifestations and how people lead up to that, but what is the parameter of what amounts to addiction? And I want to briefly begin with you, Goodluck. I'm going to ask each one of you to respond to that. In your own perspective, what would amount to addiction? What is the threat?
Thank you very much. When the previous speakers were speaking, I could relate very well because I've used the internet in 24 hours. I don't know how much internet I use. I mean, crude on these gadgets. So I agree with everyone that there is a problem, but I wanted to defy a little bit to say if in that addiction, for example, me, I don't know whether I should say I should admit, but I try to be on the internet because of my work, and my work is information consuming. So I have several gadgets, so I don't know how much sites are, and I leave them open. One of my expenditures is buying data. So the element of a child is that if maybe the parents, even I used to find this with church at first when the internet had come. There are even some churches who had said the internet is evil. And I felt until one time when I don't know who started it, but I also remember commenting to giving a suggestion that can we also take the word of God to the internet. And today you see where we are. So for me, I feel if we help the children to get activities that are based on the internet, maybe we again, the level of supervision can be there, but also where it is not. Me, I would like to see where the supervision is not, is that if you teach these children that you can be able to earn something out of this, maybe they can look through that line. But otherwise, much of the solutions need really policing, which is a little bit of difficult. So for me, one, if my hand, if I put down my phone and I hold something else, I might think it is a phone. So that's how bad it is, that I don't put my phone in my pocket. My phone is always in my hands. So as to how long, it really depends on how somebody is benefiting. This is my second meeting this morning. I have some other work to do immediately. I finish this recording. I mean this show, sorry. That means what? It means that me, I'm using it to earn. To those who use it for pleasure and other things, I would say, please look through yourselves, find a way of earning through this. But definitely, if somebody starts failing to eat, failing to do what, so for me, one of my last comment on this, one of the ways I just switch off my phone, take it for charge and sleep or do something else. But otherwise, I can't really tell the timing. Maybe other people will add because I am a culprit of this. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your honesty. I want to guess to begin with Allan this time. Allan, what is that threshold? What is the parameter of addiction? How much is addiction? How much is it for something to be categorized as internet addiction?
Yes, well, thank you again, Mr. Moderator. That question is tricky in a way, but then I think the match or the threshold is when you begin now to see the signs of what you've called an addiction. Like, for example, you can no longer control yourself on the screen. You find trouble to close the screen. When you find you are now beginning to lose interest in the other activities, for example, you no longer want to go sporting or anything else, all you need is a phone. I think that one is really becoming a red line. You begin to realize I'm getting addicted. When it preoccupies you and you find all your thoughts about the gadgets and the internet and things you've done, and you can literally not concentrate on something else, then that should be a red line. That should be a warning that really this is you're now becoming addicted. When you find you can no longer control yourself, instead of eating, then you are on your phone. Instead of maybe handling a certain issue, we are now talking about children. Instead of maybe your parents are communicating something, and for you are seriously busy on your phone, and you're not even giving attention to what the parent is communicating. So I think those are some of the red lines, or those are some of the things that should tell this person that, you see, this is becoming an addiction. It might not really be about time, the time you spend up with your phone. However, it can also come in, just like you said. Yes, the other thing that will show you that you are addicted, if you find you can no longer sleep, or you're sleeping 2 hours in a day, and all the time you are on your phone, or through the night you are browsing, and so that should be enough to tell you that, you see, you're now becoming addicted and you're actually going to become affected. So time might come in, for example, now it is sleeping time, and then for you are on your phone. It is time to do something, and then also for you are doing something else. However, it might not be about how many hours, though it can come in, for example, if you're not sleeping and then all the hours you're browsing. So I think what should be a red mark for someone about this addiction is when you begin to now realize these signs you've been talking about, the signs that show that you are probably addicted. Yeah, that's my submission. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. And also, pointing to it that it may not be hours, but how much attached, or how much it prevents you from doing other things. Hope, what do you say about, is there, in your view, or from your findings, that is there a parameter for that shows internet addiction? Is that like an indicator where you're like, okay, 2 hours, 3 hours, or this indeed is the real diagnosis of internet addiction?
Thank you so much. I think most have been said, but for me, what will stand out is where you find that you are even likely to get yourself into trouble because your phone is taking control. I'll give an example. You are driving and you've got this message and you think it's very, very important, you must respond while driving. I think that explains that there are some senses of heading into addiction, because there's nothing that cannot wait. Actually, what is better is if you are that addicted, then you'd rather say, let me park on the side, respond to this message, and continue driving. But where you find that you even have no problem, you're driving on a highway and you are responding to a text, or you're sending someone a very important thing, or that for me, that shows that the gadgets are taking over your life. You are no longer thinking about you. It is about the phone and what comes through the phone or the gadgets. The same, even if it's not driving, you'll find you've seen people moving on the road and they're almost hit by a vehicle because they're in the road, they are on the phone, they have earphones in their ears and they can't hear anything around them. It's about them and their gadget and what they are doing. So for me, I think those are some of the highlighters that at a time where you think that your life is not that important, but you must use this gadget to do whatever you have to do. For me, I want to refer to that as some level of addiction. For discipline cases, if it's very, very important, you can say, please, let's put this down. As soon as I get home, or as soon as I get to the office, or the next stopover, I will respond. But I know even you must have seen these things happening. They used to happen to me as I'm also a culprit before, until I chose to say, I will not respond. And that is something I made a decision as hope. And I said, my life comes first. My self-care comes first. So if it's very important, it should not be as important as my life. And I chose to say I will not do that until I get to where I am going. So for me, I think that explains that there's some bit of addiction in my view.
Thank you for that. To our panelists, thank you for the honesty. Many of us indeed have also had, issues with the internet overuse. It's not only the children, but we've also had, I must also confess that I think I spent, because I also use the internet and I'm always working with a computer or the phone. I think 10 hours of the day I'm on, those gadgets. I must also confess that, it also goes beyond, I think, the would-be usual usage time. And I agree, it also takes a toll on the health, because many times you are seated on the computer and it's, all that time you're not exercising, you exposed to the light. Also the capitalistic demands in which we work many times dictate so. But then as we conclude, there is something important that, of course, we have to ask ourselves. One, are there mechanisms in place at a bigger macro level of government, at our individual levels, in our communities, in schools? Are there ways or policies that are engineered to sort of curb this internet addiction? Are there some, and if so, what can we do to ensure that we cut on the internet addictions in Uganda? For context, in 2021, the Minister of Education sort of released a communique where she was urging parents and students also to cut down on internet use, on the overuse of gadgets, to avert what is looming, and that is the addiction, the real addiction, and the effects that come with the addiction. She offered a number of advice to young people, and I will quote her. It says that the problem of social media, this she posted on her Twitter handle, the problem of social media or digital addiction is relatively new, but has really reached all over the world. It has been called the modern day addictive drug, like tobacco or alcohol. It leads to poor school performance, breakdown of family communication, and delinquent behaviors. Students show that studies show that you spend 7 hours every day online. She said, as you, my young friends, devote all your time on social media platforms, it is very easy for academic work to suffer, as parents spend lots of time on same platforms, communication in families, and families break down. Before you know it, family members are living as strangers under the same roof. Whereas the minister did not give ministerial position in her department to say, this is what we are doing. She went on to offer advice to say, bring your addiction under control by putting screen or app timer lock after a set time. This can be done as a family where the desired time is set and the app lock is on until the next day. Hope has shared with us how she does this, and they have time in their family. And she adds, Janet himself adds, if your goal is 60 minutes, then set it for those minutes and give the password to someone else in the family who will keep you accountable. He says this helped many to monitor and break their addictions. I should also note that in China, there has been sort of a policy where minors are only allowed to play video games for an hour on Fridays, weekends, and holidays. And and the same is banned during school weeks. So you can only do it on weekends or in holidays, but not during days at school. And they enforce that through ensuring registration. Each minor has a gadget, has an account. Account is monitored and managed not only by the parents, but also government has quite some control. So it's one way of ensuring that, you know what, the minors are not exposed so much and don't face addictions as such. So I want to ask us what and how we think we can. I want to share what we believe are some of those methods or policies that can be adopted, but at a larger level and also at our own levels. I'll begin with you, Marion. We shall have Goodluck, Hope, and then end with Allan.
Sorry, I missed you. Could you say that again?
Yes, what are some of those things that we think should be put in place at various levels to cut or to tame this internet addiction?
Okay, I feel like during our discussions, I think we mentioned some of the things I think parents need to do. One, parents need to actively be part of their children's life so that they just don't let the gadgets to raise the kids, but instead they are part of their kids' lives and know what is going on. They should know what their children are consuming, and they should also take advantage of technology to put limitations on what children can access and what they can't access. Set timelines of when kids can be online, when they shouldn't be online, how long can they be online, and also what are they doing online. That's the only way to go. Otherwise, technology is here to stay and we can take advantage of it, because for most developed countries, that's how most people are getting jobs, through technology. That's what I would say, yeah.
Thank you. Yes, for sure, much was shared. We're just now getting the pointers. Yes, good luck.
Thank you very much. In terms of policy, I think our parliament should be able to, the different sectors, as you said, Minister of Education should come up with some policies so that even if they are hard, I hope Section 25, which has been removed from the law, does not, when some of the children maybe got caught and say we are being denied our rights. So we need to come up with a policy at that level. I see our hospitals are now going, have started using in football what they call VR, virtual reality. So that means that this thing is just going to be with us, as the previous speaker has said. So I can only say the government has little, I don't know, like for me, maybe unless if you said you increase money, taxes on data, that's when maybe I can find a problem in using it. But even if like petrol, even if it goes higher, you find some people on the road. So I think the government has really a challenge, and especially to those maybe in the coming parliament, because internet penetration, even as we are speaking, I was asking how much internet penetration are we talking about? If you go to Karamoja, I was talking to some of the service providers. They were telling me internet penetration in Karamoja is still very low. So I don't know whether we are speaking for a small section of people or a bigger section. So again, the ICT ministry, I think needs to give us maybe reports monthly if not weekly at some point, so that we're able to know how much this is on. And then maybe, I don't know whether also criminalizing partly the use of the internet, especially if it is in order to protect children. For example, in some of the groups where I am, it is not allowed to share anything that touches children. And I can assure you, I have read about a young girl called Nicole, but I have not opened any video of hers because it traumatizes me. It just, so for me, I think also when you go to countries like the US, if you have seen some of the cases that have been taken to court and convictions, Ara Kerry and others, you can see there is an element of internet and the children. When we use the internet, maybe to lure children into acts that are contrary to the penal code. So I think for me, Parliament needs to a bit study this and keep improving the law, keep coming up with the different policies that will guide. Otherwise, if we don't do this, instead of being a blessing, it might be a curse. Much as I don't fear that it's going to be that, but if there's a member of parliament listening to us, if there is some of these local government leaders who are listening to us, how can they, when they go into those meetings, even political parties, actually, as we head for 2026, it would be interesting to hear, to listen from any political party that comes up with something on the internet use and most especially protecting the children. I would be glad to hear that, and maybe I would write about it. Otherwise, internet is here with us today morning. I've been in a meeting where I think doctors who don't know how to use some of these things and they're in the advanced stages, maybe, I don't know whether the government at some point will require them to do some things as they bring in others. But I'm told now you have to report. Doctors have been given dashboards. If anything happens, every patient you touch, there must be an element of communicating to the central government what's happening. So it's something that is with us, but controlling it, I agree. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that. Over to you, Allan. Over to Hope. Hope, and then we shall end with Allan.
Yeah, thank you so much. For me, I specifically talk about parents being present in the lives of their children and being interested in knowing what happens with the guidance they have provided to their children. And this comes with providing information. I always tell parents, find time to sit your children down and let them know about the dangers in society. So if it's about something wrong happening around, share it as a family. And all these things, by the way, we must start at a family level. We can't talk about the entire world without looking at our own family unit. If we are not doing it in our own area, it will be difficult to even look at the entire sub-county or district or nation. So provide information, especially the good that comes with internet use and the bad. And we can't provide information which we do not have. So I would like to challenge parents to interest themselves and find out what actually happens within the internet area, to choose to get knowledge, choose to educate yourself so that you are the person that will take this information to your child. Children have access to fellow children, basically even through social media. So they are likely to listen to their friends more than they will listen to you. But if you have the information and you are willing to sit them down and say, look here, you have the internet, you have data. But while online, you can find this and this and this and this. This is good for you, this is bad for you. How do you avoid the bad? It is good that you don't even get there. I have talked to my girls that if you are in a group and they are sharing wrong information, if you have a friend who is sending you funny pictures, just block them. And blocking has become part of social media we use now. because I tell them that means that person will not add any value to you. Look for friends that are going to make your life better, not those that will make your life even worse. So that is important. Then setting time limits. It also comes with parent role. Set time limits and say, you are supposed to be online or using these gadgets up to this time. And don't just think that because you say the time has arrived, they have stopped. They will not stop. They will hide even their blankets and still use the gadgets under their pillows. So make sure you are part and parcel. And being part and parcel includes also having those gadgets yourself during the time when you think they should not have. It has worked for me and it can work for many. Let the children know that they cannot be ruled by internet, they cannot be ruled by these phones, because otherwise they are getting offline, they are getting detached to reality, and it is very, very unfortunate. If we don't do it now, we have a price to pay, and it may be too late. So let's just choose to be present, and therefore parent role must stand out significantly. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Over to you, Allan.
Yes, well, thank you. We'll begin on the government level. I think just like you are telling us about the mechanisms that China has put in place, the officials, the leaders, the government leaders, I suggest they do pilot studies on the mechanisms that have been implemented with the other countries. Then perhaps they can choose some of the policies that can work for Uganda or Africa. And then on the level of schools, having highlighted that students or our children are always spending most of their time in schools compared to the time we spend with them at home, the schools really need to come out and be open and give the right information to the learners and tell them the advantages of internet and use of gadgets, and also highlight the disadvantages and how bad it can be when you use it in the wrong way. So say that when students access the internet or are using these gadgets, they know the bad and the good side of the coin. So I think schools really need to, and you realize most of the schools don't do this sensitization. What they always do is to punish the culprits, even when they have not been sensitized. So I think schools need to put the right information to the learners. And then lastly, to the parents, much has been said, but I also want to highlight that parents should set example, because some of these children are looking at some of us parents glued on our phones. They see you come home, you sit on your laptop, and then from the laptop, go shower, eat supper, and then you're now on your phone. So they see you literally much of the time on your gadget. So it becomes even difficult for you to tell this child that, you see, please get off your phone. They see you sometimes even go to your bed with your phone. So I think parents need to really set a good example about the same issue we've been discussing. Set the time limits like all my colleagues have said, because when they're adults, then, you know, maybe, yes, there is some office work I didn't finish and then I have to finish it. But for kids, it should be learning, and maybe they are playing games. So you're using the gadget, and post that, you hand over the gadgets to me. So I think setting time limits for the children is really, really much important. And then lastly, as we set the time limits, let there be monitoring. It is okay to monitor and see what these children are doing with the gadgets, or what are they surfing, what are they looking at, what are they using the gadgets the right way. So in a good spirit, monitor the children and then advise accordingly.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Whereas few countries have had serious policies in regard to curbing internet addiction, there are some steps that are being taken by many other jurisdictions. The EU is also coming back strongly with policies that have to regulate internet addiction, and the Parliament, the EU Parliament, has been quite instrumental in setting out guidelines that help the internet use. Indeed, we may not necessarily have to advocate for limiting of the internet or curtailing of the internet rights, because as we have all discussed here, we need the internet for very many things. And if we should develop, honestly, we don't need to fight the internet or say, oh my goodness, it's bad, or it should be limited, or it should be curtailed. No, the internet is here to stay, like Marion said, and we should embrace it. However, we should also know that too much of everything always has its own negative implications, and we should be willing to prevent that. I will end with an advice that Pope Francis gave when he was talking to youth sometime back. He told them, of course, he is also an advocate of the use of social media and the internet for different social causes and social good, but he also has stated that he has advised people to put down their phone and enjoy the meal with their family. He told the youth, put down that gadget and enjoy dinner with your family. So I encourage, the same message goes to many people who are listening and watching. Please put down that phone, enjoy a chat, a one-to-one conversation with your family member, with those around you, or even a conversation with nature. Thank you very much to our dear conversationalists that have made it to this week's community show. And we also appreciate our conveners, Center for Constitutional Governance and Civic Space TV, for putting together this show. And to you, Allan. Oh, Allan, did you have your final say?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Yes, to you, Allan, Marion, Hope, and Goodluck. Thank you very much. And I wish you all, our dear audience, a great afternoon and a great week.